the first step to self-improvement is self-awareness combined with brutal honesty.
Welcome to the Tomorrow Is Not Today podcast. You've already started to create the life you want just by being here. Designed for you as a business professional so you can be physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy, more productive, less stressed, and living a life you truly love. My name's Kingsley, and thank you for coming on another journey with one of our uniquely qualified professionals.
Mana, I'll get your name right. Thank you for joining us on the Tomorrow's Not Today podcast. It's a real pleasure to have you in here. Watching your journey, what you do and how you help people is phenomenal. I know on the podcast, people are going to get a lot out of that today.
Well, thanks, Kingsley. And yeah, thanks for having me to be a part of your podcast, a part of your show. Real pleasure. So yeah, just happy to share, I guess, a little bit of experience, a little bit of knowledge, and hopefully it helps someone out there.
I have no doubt, based on our chat before we actually got in here, what it's going to be like. Now, obviously, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, all that sort of thing, a general day-to-day.
My name is Mana. I'm a doctor of physiotherapy. I have a physiotherapy practice in Varsity Lakes. It's called Ikaika, Integrated Recovery and Performance. And for those of you who are wondering what Ikaika means, that means strong in Hawaiian. And you know, with physiotherapy, most people think it's the physical side of things, but a lot of it comes with the mental aspect as well, and getting people over their mental boundaries and overcoming injuries and limiting beliefs and so on and so forth. So I help people a lot with that as well, taking into account the whole person, taking that holistic approach, right? And day-to-day life, man, I feel like you got to live what you preach, right? So if I'm telling people that they have to exercise and they have to do X, Y, Z to better themselves, then I better be doing the same thing. So the gym, fitness, exercise, it's a major part of my life. It's the way I take a break, I guess, from work and all the madness. So that's what I do. And right now, actually, I'm working on training for a fitness competition come September. And so that'll really be a test to my capacity and to what I can handle as a person, I guess, physically and mentally.
Doesn't sound like you have much of a downtime there.
Not much. The gym's my downtime, but I like it. Wouldn't have it any other way.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you count that as your downtime, yet some people count that as hard work.
Yeah, I guess, and I guess that's when you ask that question, is like, what is downtime, right? Like, who's to say what is downtime? Like, what is the definition of that? So, yeah, it's all perspective, I guess.
100%. And one of the things, and you were on stage with Gary Vee just not too last year, which was really cool. And one of the things that he says, he always gets paid out on because he doesn't take time out of work. But to him, work is his fun. That's how he relaxes and how he enjoys life. And it sounds like to you, relaxation is going to the gym.
Yeah, I mean, like it's the way you frame things, right? So if someone sees, you know, you working all the time and think, man, that guy, you know, doesn't relax, doesn't have time for himself. I guess that's them projecting their paradigm of what, I guess, downtime is or how life should be lived and projecting it onto me. Whereas for me, I'm like, I love going to the gym. It clears my head. It's a little bit of an escape from all the busy work and the other things in life. And when I leave the gym, I feel good. And so why would I change that? You know, if it makes me feel good, if it makes me feel good, not only physically, but mentally as well, why would I change that? Now, like, I know there's times where I push it a little too far and I get burnt out, but, you know, that's part of the experience. That's part of, like, life.
100%.
You know, so, yeah. I guess people try to push their perceptions and their values or belief systems onto others, and that's where things get cloudy.
It's really interesting you say that, because I listen to a lot of podcasts myself. Big believer in them. Hence, we've got a podcast studio as well. But I'm a big believer in podcasts and what you can learn and how you can grow. And one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of people out there pushing their narrative. Not that their narrative is wrong, but it's right for them. And I think what a lot of people get carried away with is, I've got to be at the gym all the time. I've got to get up early. I've got to be able to stay up and do all-nighters to make my business work. And I've got to be this person, and I've got to be here all the time, and I've got to eat this food and not eat that food. And I think people get into this place of it's just all too much.
Overwhelm.
Yeah. Because they're trying to do the best they can and be the best person they can. But the reality is none of us are perfect. And just because that's right for that person doesn't mean it's right for everybody else.
100%. I think it comes down to, like, what do you want, right? Yeah. Like, what I want is not what you want, is not what she wants, is not what he wants, right? So if I want this, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z to get that. And there's probably no way around that. Whereas you might be doing other things because you want something else. And it's the same with, my business and physiotherapy and fitness. It's like, okay, you want to overcome this injury. I tell you, you need to do this, you need to deload, you need to make behavioral activity modifications, you need to strengthen up and then build capacity in the area, and then you're good to go. If you don't want to do that, guess what the outcome's going to be? Probably not what you want, right? Same with business, like there are days where we don't want to do the admin work, we don't want to make the phone calls, we don't want to set up the studio, but we just have to. Otherwise, we're not going to get what we want at the end of the day. And yeah, I think a lot of people just don't see it that way, or they're not clear on what they want. And so they're trying to listen to other people and live by other people's narratives in order to find that. But they got to find that within themselves.
Yeah, 100%. It's what, I think you said it perfectly where you said, what do you want? Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's it. So if that's what you want, so what's it going to take to get you there, which is the big thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't want to think for themselves because it's difficult, and you got to do a lot. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. And if, most people want to get better and improve, I've come to say this, it's the first step to self-improvement is self-awareness combined with brutal honesty.
Oh, and say that again.
The first step to self-improvement is self-awareness combined with brutal honesty. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to look within themselves and say, this is where I'm messing up. This is where I can be better. This is where I'm weak. This is what I have to do to address those things. And it's easier to go listen to other people and watch Instagram reels and YouTube videos and chase that dopamine and feel good in that moment, and then try and follow, the black and white things, because I don't know, for some reason, some people think life is black and white, which is not. And they're like, oh, surely if I do these things, then somehow I'll get what I want in life. And it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, 100%. And it's actually interesting because what we're actually supposed to be talking about, not that we're supposed to be talking about it, but what we'd planned to be talking about is how to actually make that happen, which is accountability. Now, accountability is one of the words that I love and I hate it just as much at the same time.
Why is that?
Because exactly what you just said, it's easy to watch the reels or the TikTok or YouTube or whatever and see that this is what needs to happen, and I feel good now because I know what needs to happen, but then I've actually got to be accountable to that because this is what I want, and I've actually got to go and put the effort in to make this happen.
Yeah, it's confronting.
It's very confronting. That's why I love it and hate it, because I know it's the only way, but then I'm responsible.
That's why we love business, right?
Yeah.
Because if everything's going well, it's all on me. If everything's going bad, things not going so well, it's all on me.
Yeah.
And nothing, I believe anyway, or from my experience, things don't necessarily get any better unless you start holding yourself accountable for those things. And I think a big thing with accountability is that that's your sense of control, right? If you're not going to hold yourself accountable, no matter, even if you have every right to blame something or point the finger or fall victim to something, we all at some given point are a victim to circumstance. But it's like I say, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. And once you take accountability for as many things as you possibly can, you start to take control of your own life, of your own health, of everything. And that's the aim of your business, right? To create the life that you want. And I don't think you can do that if you hold no accountability, because then you have no control. And then if you have no control, what are you? you're just a victim. And you need to have control to get the outcome you want.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Love it. It's so true. So let's dig deep into that a little bit. Give me an example of somewhere where you've had to go, you know what? I need to take responsibility. I need to be accountable for this to make the change.
I guess, well, directly related to me and my business in more of a physical sense is when I've had surgeries. So I've had 6 surgeries now, which is ridiculous.
Wow.
You know, at first when I was younger and these things happened to me, I was very much in the victim mentality, you know, like, why me? Why me? You know, I'm always going forward and then I feel like I take 2 steps back and it's not my fault. And I think that's why I'm confident when I speak about these things, because I was there, I've been there. And then down the line, you know, after like, you know, going through it so many times, you're like, oh, here we go again. And then you realize, you know, you get into this mental funk. You realize that is coming. You realize you once could do everything you wanted to, and then all the things you took for granted, you can't do anymore. But then it's taking that accountability that made the process a lot easier and a lot smoother. You know, it's like, okay, so for example, I had shoulder surgery. And it's like, okay, I can't use my arm, but I have my other arm. I have 2 legs. I can still use that. I can still look at all the things I have and can do. Look at all the things I have control over and focus on that instead of all the things that I don't have control over. Because what good does that do? You know, it just puts you down a cycle of helplessness, victimhood, and nothing gets better. And you're just hoping for somehow everything just goes away, but you got to make that happen, right? You got to do your part. Same with physiotherapy in my patients. I can only do so much for them. I can tell them you need to do X, Y, Z, but it's up to them to take that accountability and responsibility and do everything they can to improve themselves. Because at the end of the day, what is 1 hour a week with me in the grand scheme of life? So I guess when you ask for an example, that would be my example. You know, I could have felt sorry for myself and just stayed home and watched Netflix and had Maccas. But instead, I'm like, no, I can still move. I'm going to the gym. So
it sounds like in all that you're saying there, part of it is our ability to be grateful for things.
100%.
And that's where we get out of the victimhood side.
Yeah. I think we don't realize how easy we have it. We have it so easy. And I've said this on another podcast too. I think a big problem today is gratitude has gone down and entitlement has gone up. And that, I guess, mentality has just, I guess, very vague terms kind of messed up the way we operate in society. But that gratitude you spoke about, I did a lot of reflecting when I trained for my last competition and realized like how easy we had it, right? So when you're training for these fitness competitions, diet is very strict. It's restricted, yes, in the sense of calories. You're not drinking. You're not really going out and partying on the weekends or socializing because training comes first, right? So for me, it was training and business all the time. And I realized that most people can be fit and healthy, but it's just so easy to not have the discipline to fall off that path. And people want to take the easy way out because we're just surrounded by instant gratification everywhere we look. And I think a lack of gratitude has come from the fact that everything's so easy to obtain. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I can go through the Macca's drive-through, get my dopamine hit, you know, online shopping, all of that. And then when we don't get what we want right away, oh my goodness, so everything's falling apart.
If somebody's in that place now where they are feeling like, you know, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and they've been trying and working through and they just don't seem to be able to get there. Something's not quite clicking somewhere. Yeah. What have you done in the past? What do you see that actually works to help you get from that place of not being there? Is it a matter of pushing through to make sure we get there? As a matter of, do we need to adjust? Do we need to change our mindset to one of gratitude instead of looking at what keeps going wrong all the time? What do we need to do?
I think it's all of that. I think, and it's, again, back to instant gratification. I don't think it happens overnight, man. I think it's a long process. I think, well, for me, it took years to get out of that mentality. And I think what kept me going is that I didn't want to be stuck in that. Like, I didn't want to be that person, my whole life. I'm like, that's not me. That's not who I want to be. So finally, it's just like, what am I doing wrong? Where, as you said, like, something's missing, something's not clicking. So what am I overlooking? And it's usually the simple things like gratitude, and yeah, it's a combination of being grateful for what you have, looking at the positive things, reframing your mind, changing your mindset, keep pushing forward. But like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. Like, for me personally, it was, listening to people that were in the position that I wanted to be in life, not just the people around me, and taking advice here and there and implementing that advice. I think a lot of us, we listen to YouTube and Instagram and we're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. That's great. Like, that's awesome. And we do nothing with that information. So a lot for me was like listening to those people who were successful, who had like the things I wanted to have, and I still want to have later on in life, and trying to implement those little things all the while just pushing through. Because I know for myself, like, where does giving up leave you? Like, where does that take you? Like, nowhere, right? You're just going to stay where you are. So I think it's just easier said than done, but it's all of that, yeah, over a long period of time with consistency and discipline.
It sounds like you seem to be incorporating everything that we know about what we should do, all seems to be needing to be happening at the same time. And you went back and you said again what you said a little bit earlier, what I still want in life, what I want further down the track in life.
Yeah.
But that seemed to be where you started from. And then everything else you're doing is just sort of working together and giving yourself time, knowing this is not going to happen straight away, but over a period of time, you're actually going to get there.
Yeah. And I think that comes with belief in yourself and self-confidence and being open to growth and not closed off to a particular way of thinking. And again, like I said, looking back and being brutally honest with yourself. And
so how do you get that self-belief? Like that real self-belief? Is that something that just, look at me, look how good I am? No. Or is that something you build and develop?
Build and develop over time. Like I said, like not even months, not even a year, probably years, man. And I think it's going through discomfort, as cliche as that sound. It's going through discomfort and experiencing pain and coming out the other side and knowing that, I'm still here. And, if I can do that, then I can do the easy stuff, and all the little things add up to big things. And yeah, over time, and once you get through a period of discomfort, it doesn't end there. And that's what I like. Again, I can make the analogy of training for the fitness competition, right? It's like you do your diet, you do your training, you tick that box, the day's over, and you wake up and you got to do it all over again. Day after day after day. You don't finish the day and be like, oh, I was really good with my diet. I got all my exercise done. Let's have a beer.
Yeah.
Let's pat myself on the back. No, it's get up, do the same thing over and over. And at any given point, you can pull the pin and say, screw this. I'm done. It's not worth it. Like, I feel crap. Or you can keep going. And then when you come out the other side, that's when you change. That's where the transformation occurs. It's in the journey.
So being a doctor of physiotherapy, you're working with people, and I know from our relationship and people, my friends who you've actually helped along the journey as well, who have been to other places and haven't been able to get the help, but you've helped them. Now, is that, obviously you take personally what you do and how you help people and your job and your responsibility, But as far as someone wanting to get better, and relate this to aspect of life, or whether it's an injury in our body or whatever it is, what have you noticed about those who get good outcomes or progressive outcomes versus those who maybe it doesn't quite work as well for?
I like that question. That's a good question. Okay. So I was just talking to, and I think it was you actually. You can have two people with the same sort of condition, and I've had these two separate types of people walk in. Both have had like chronic low back pain for years, 10 plus years, right? And I can tell who's going to get better as soon as like we have a conversation. As soon as I listen to how they speak, how their mindset is, the language they use, I can tell, okay, this person has a good chance. This person is going to be a battle.
Just from the conversation?
Just from the conversation.
Wow.
Straight away. And I've always said, since I was in this space, back even when I started personal training like 10 years ago, you can't change the body if you don't change the mind. And so those people that get better, they're very proactive with their exercise. Again, taking all accountability, like, yes, Mana, you're here to guide and facilitate this, but the rest is on me. I got to do the work. I got to wake up. I got to fit this into my routine, right? I have to change, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. Whereas you have the other person very much in that kind of dark victim mentality. All the justifications come out, all the excuses. Oh, about my work. Oh, that doesn't fit for my routine. Oh, my kids. Oh, this, that, blah, blah. And I listen to people's problems, right? And more often than not, I'm just like, that's just life. And I think that's a hard truth for a lot of people. Like, sometimes your problems aren't problems, they're just life. And some people can just deal with it and accept it. Other people have a hard time. And that affects their outcomes. It's just the way they frame things, and they frame things in their mind affects their outcomes greatly. So I've had a few people now with chronic low back pain, 4 or 5 sessions, fine, back to surfing, back to playing with the kids, things they've never done in years. And then others, 4 or 5 sessions, quit. Nope, too hard. This isn't for me. And that phrase I don't like either. It's not for me. This isn't for me. That, I think, subconsciously is removing accountability from the person and putting it onto something else, because this isn't for me. No, sometimes maybe you're not for it. You didn't want to change to obtain, again, like I said, the outcome that you wanted. So this was the process. You didn't want to change to fit the process. And there you go.
So it sounds like that this isn't for me. This is out here.
Yeah.
And
externally.
Yeah, it is an external thing. But to do that, I need to put the effort to actually move to this position.
Yep.
And that's a mental thing first?
I think so. It's hard, right?
It is.
Like, people, that's a problem with health and this whole instant gratification and dopamine and whatnot. People end up relying on other people to fix their problems when all they need is guidance, and all of us can really fix ourselves to some extent. Obviously, if you need surgery and all that, like, you're going to have to see a surgeon, rely on him to quote unquote fix you. But at the end of the day, if you don't do your rehab, again, you're not going to get better. You need to fix yourself. It's just half the process. So what do you said that some of the clients come in and you can tell from a conversation which ones are going to get better and which ones, quite likely, it's not going to work for them because it's not for them, so to speak. What have you noticed in their speech? How do they talk that's different? Again, they don't want to take accountability. They're looking for the easiest way and quickest way possible. That's what I notice. Oh, this might take, months to overcome. Oh, really? And I frame it this way. I'm like, look, this is something you've been dealing with for years. You've seen X amount of people. What makes you think 1 hour a week for 3 weeks is going to make all the problems go away? Like, no, we got to chip away at this one day at a time. You're going to have your good days and your bad days. It's not going to be a linear path. And those who accept that do really well. those who think, no, can't be. I must be the exception to the rule. Like surely there's a way where I can see one person one time and all of a sudden better. And those are the people that bounce from person to person to practitioner, searching for answers. And it's kind of sad too, because, they end up going to GPs and whatnot. GPs start dismissing them. Oh, another one of these people type of thing. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, ultimately, you hold a pen to your story, and we can control a lot more than we think.
And I guess the more they go and see somebody else with that magic silver bullet that's going to cure everything in a week or two, the more they get disillusioned as well.
Yeah.
So they feel like the answer that they're looking for, oh no, it's just not there. I've had all these people now tell me that it can't be possible, rather than going, okay, I've seen Mana. He's told me if I put the work in, I can make this happen.
Yep.
And it seems to be, I guess, a big disparity there in that position.
Yeah, it's the like perspective, their paradigm of how they frame things. I've gone this long with no improvements. What will make me think this time there's going to be an improvement, right? They just don't see it. And when that improvement doesn't come overnight, they're like, oh, been down that path before, been there, done that. This isn't working. This isn't going to work. Give up.
So that's the accountability. I need to do the work
again
and see it through. Consistency.
Yep. And again, it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
And people
is.
People don't want to do the hard stuff.
And that again is part of the thing of watching Reels, TikTok, YouTube, and that sort of thing. You see all these people that have made it, and it's happened, and it's happening, and they're telling their story. And I remember years and years ago watching, and they go, you do all this sort of stuff, and then you can just lie on the beach, and you don't have to do a lot.
Yeah,
and there were so many people saying that.
Yeah, it's
only to find out that's it's not true.
No. Well, I mean, for some people it is true, but they won't show you all the bullshit they went through to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And all the sleepless nights and the stress and the anxiety and the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and all of those things that they had to overcome to get to that point.
Yep.
Like, nothing really happened overnight.
And the reality of what a passive income is compared to reality, there is no such thing as a fully passive income.
Oh, you got to be checking and monitoring things.
Exactly. And then the other side of that as well is, have you ever been to the beach on a sunny day with a laptop?
Oh, yeah. You get fried.
You get fried and you can't see anything on your screen anyway.
I've tried it, yeah. And I'm like, people don't do this, surely.
Exactly. So, and I think one of the things for me, especially in this podcast with you, is this whole accountability factor and sorting out what we talked about before. What's true, what's not really true, what's out there to sound good and look good. But the reality is it's not what goes on behind the scenes of what's really happening. And we need to take that personal responsibility to make things happen.
Yeah, I agree. And look, because, again, coming back to instant gratification and things being easy, I think we've made that our baseline when life is not easy. Life is difficult. Life is hard. Life is stressful. We're adults. We have responsibilities, and I hear people all the time, and I try not to use this word anymore. Like for the past year, I try not to use the word busy.
Yep.
Because we're all freaking busy.
Yep.
We're adults. Like if we think that life is going to be going to a job and then sitting on the beach with a coffee and walking the dogs every day, you're out of touch with reality.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, I had a friend, we had a conversation months ago, and this person was telling me all these problems. And finally, I just, kick into the tough love mode. And I was just like, look, life is hard. Life is fucking hard. And the sooner that you accept that it's hard, the easier it becomes.
It's so true.
Yeah. And then this person was just quiet and then went, say that again? I want to write that down.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's very good. I remember back in the word busy, I remember hearing a guy speak one time, and someone asked him a question, and they're like, how do you do all that? How can you take this on if you're already so busy with your role and your position? He said, I'm not busy, I'm full. He said, there's a difference. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I went on that journey like you have of busy, not using that word busy anymore. And to me, I love the differentiation between busy and full, whereas busy is you got all this stuff you have to do and everyone's controlling you and what you're doing and where you're going. Whereas full is your life is full. You know where you're going,
Yeah.
but everything isn't ruining you and running you. You are in control, but you still got a lot happening. You're still very, very full, but you're in control and you're going, as you said earlier, you're going where you want to go. You know where you want to go, and you're doing everything it takes to actually get there.
Yeah, you're on a mission.
Yeah.
You're on a mission. That's what it feels like. And yeah, I'm glad you said and brought up the word full, because I guess that's what I'm trying to replace that busy word with now. It's I got a lot on my plate.
Yep.
My plate, sorry, I can't do X, Y, or Z. My plate is full at the moment. I just can't.
So as busy as you are running your business and doing everything else
busy.
you're doing, so as full as you are doing all of that, you're just working up towards a competition at the moment.
Yes.
So what does that mean? Talking about accountability and where we want to go, what does that mean for you? Like, how do you put that in? What have you got to do with the rest of your personal life, the rest of your business life, the rest of your every other aspect of life to be able to put in to go into a competition? And why would you put that on yourself in the first place?
So you asked, what do I have to do in business and personal life? Sacrifice.
Okay.
Sacrifice. I mean,
What does that look like?
Logistically, there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So if I'm going to put this as a high priority on my plate that's full, there's some things that have to be sacrificed. And maybe that's catching up with a friend for a coffee. Maybe that's saying no to colleagues who want to have meetings, or, you know, people who want to network sometimes. Maybe I'll just have to say, you know, let's put it off until this date, until after the competition. Plate's full. Sometimes it's sleep. I know last year a lot of sleep was sacrificed, but I've learned from that because we all know how important sleep is. And trust me, that's something I'm working on, which is why sleep is not something I preach to other people, because I need to work on that myself first. But, and I guess the reason why I put that on myself is it's a journey of growth, is what I realized from last year. It's a test of my capacity and what I can handle. And again, holding myself accountable. It's like, I signed up for this. I know what comes with it. And I better be doing everything still to the best of my abilities in business and personal life, as well as be able to handle this. Otherwise, don't do it, you know? And I better not complain once, because again, I signed up for it, you know? These things come with territory. And yeah, I realized last year I did it more for the mental aspect of things, testing myself to see how far I could take myself physically, mentally. And then when all was said and done, on the other side of that discomfort, I feel like I gained so much growth, you know, perspective on different areas of life, realizing like how we don't realize how easy we have it. Because I'm looking at this meal plan, I'm looking at the food, I'm looking at the calories, and I'm like, that's enough food? Like, this isn't, you know, I'm not starving myself, 2,500 calories, 2,800 calories, like, that's fine. We just have it too easy. So, like, our baseline is so low for what we can tolerate and handle, you know? And, again, it's testing that mental fortitude and that resilience where, man, today I feel crap, but I gotta go to the gym. I gotta get my training in. I have no energy. I feel old just walking, but you know what? We still got to do 45 minutes on that Stairmaster, and we got to get it done. And guess what? We wake up tomorrow and we do it again.
So you're pushing yourself deliberately, almost to see a couple of things. One is, how far can you go? Can you do this?
Yep.
And two is, what am I going to learn out of this? How am I going to grow out of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else I've missed there that you're...
Well, and I guess for the more superficial aspect, I'm trying to get my pro card. That's the goal. I'd like to end up with a sponsorship from a supplement company, a supplement brand, something like that. That's on the more superficial aspect. Like, I'm definitely not putting myself through this shit for Instagram likes or clout or anything like that. It's purely growth from a personal aspect and from a career standpoint.
Which I think is phenomenal, because most of us don't like to put ourselves through challenges. And I think, and we do like to get in that comfort zone because it's easy there.
Yeah, soft and cozy.
It is. And the trouble with that is the fact that once we're in that comfort zone, it's hard to get out. And that's when you can start to become miserable, because everything feels so good. So why should I try? Why should I push? It feels all okay right now. But the reality is, and I remember listening to Andrew Huberman talking about dopamine probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, and saying it's not just a reward type of molecule. It's something that when you're actually pushing, when you're striving for something, when you're really reaching hard for something like you're doing, that's when dopamine really kicks in. That's where we get the most benefit out of it. By actually going and doing something we got to strive for, we don't really want to do.
Yeah.
That's when it kicks in the most.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense, because it's a sense of accomplishment, right?
Yep.
Like think of all the difficult and big things you've accomplished. That feeling, that's that dopamine, I believe.
It is.
Isn't it?
There's part of that, but it's also the driving towards those big things.
Right.
Is where it is, and that's what gives this the determination to keep going.
Yeah,
because like you said, when you do the Stairmaster for 45 minutes that you don't really feel like doing, when you're doing it, it's like you don't really want to, but that's when the dopamine's kicking in and helping things happen. And that's when the cortisol and the stress starts to come out on our body. And you put those two things together, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
And the feeling you get at the end of that, unbelievable.
Fuel, man.
Fuel, exactly.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about when you're in that process, when you're in the journey, it's just when you're that state of being locked in is great. Just eyes on the prize, tunnel vision. And back to, we talk about the Stairmaster, so I'll bring up the Stairmaster again. I guess, like, it's funny, like, the self-talk, that goes on in the head while you're just suffering through this. And I'm just like, nope, don't look at the time. Don't look at the time. Just keep going. One step closer, one step closer. And then in my head, too, I've been saying this, take it. Because no one's going to give it to me. I got to earn it. I got to take it. So...
Okay, let's take that down to practicality for somebody that's listening or watching right now. They got stuff that they want to achieve, but they're really having trouble pushing through, getting that started to get happening.
Yep.
What do they got to say in their mind, in their head? What have they got to actually do so they can actually go, you know what, I'm going to get out of bed, and I can't do 45 minutes in a Stairmaster today, but maybe I can do 5.
Yeah.
And I want to build up. What's got to go on in their head?
What is the one little thing that I can change that'll push me forward? Even if it's one step forward. Because that's all you need. One step at a time. Like I said earlier, the little things add up to the big things. So, and then once you conquer that little thing, what's the next thing? Once you conquer that little thing, what's the next little thing? Right?
So is that the little thing going, I'm going to set my alarm for 15 minutes earlier?
100%.
Or I'm going to just, instead of eating that today, I'm going to, or drinking a Coke today, I'm going to have some water, maybe some sparkling water or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Just a little thing. Just a little thing.
And look, from personal experience, I think people see me and they're like, oh, this guy is always in shape and always healthy and, he's got good genetics. And you can ask people close, to me, man, like friends and family back home, like, I was a chubby nerd growing up, but then I knew what I wanted, and that's not who I wanted to be. And I knew that's who I was not. And so it's like, okay, no one's going to do this for me. How do I change? And it's those simple things. Get up a little bit earlier. I used to hate waking up early in the morning. Was never a morning person. Like, I'd go to the gym at like 8, 9 o'clock at night. Now I get up at 4 in the morning almost every day. Do I hate it? A lot of times, yes. But I feel like I accomplished something just by waking up earlier as soon as I start my day. Like I wake up with a win. And then you stack your wins throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year. And then you look back and you're like, holy shit, look how much I've changed. Look how far I've gone. So for me, little things is like even just cleaning all the dishes in the sink before I go to bed, putting them all away before I leave the house in the morning, little things like that. So it's like, what can I change in my daily routine that will have a positive impact? And maybe look at the things that are going back to that self-awareness and brutal honesty with yourself to then lead to that self-improvement. Okay, am I just being lazy or is this really difficult? Right? So I think we can start with little things like that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And those things they're nothing big. And I know sometimes you look at the dishes and you go like, oh man, there's so many there. But 5 or 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, now how good does this place look?
Yeah.
And how good do I feel? And the one about getting up early, I get that all the time. People are always going, no, I can't get up early in the morning because I'm a night owl, or I've never been able to do that. I've always been a night person and I can't sleep at night, so I need to go to bed late and I can't get up early because of that. And same thing. This is one of my big things as well, so go for it.
Oh, man, it's just the bullshit stories we tell ourselves. Like, I can confidently say that because I was that person too.
Me too.
I'm not a morning person. I'm a night person, blah, 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 blah. It's just you clinging to an identity that you've created for yourself. But again, what do you want?
Yeah.
Do you want to stay that person or do you want to better yourself? Because if you want to better yourself, habits need to change. Because where you are now, where we all are now, is a sum of all the decisions and habits we've made in life, really. If you take accountability for things, that's what it is anyway. So, yeah, again, it's just people not owning up to this shit, you know? Like, I'll cling onto this identity, my crutch, so I can use it as a justification that change is too difficult. It's a choice. We all have a choice. You know, you can blame your past, you can blame your upbringing, you can blame all these things, but it's like we're adults now. Like like I said, we hold a pen to our story. So what are you going to write in that book?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Mate, that I feel both very inspired and really bad right now at the same time. So thanks for that. It's just good that, you know, we're both on the same page without a doubt with all of this.
Yeah. And look, but I'm not gonna sit here and act self-righteous and like I'm perfect and then I have all my ducks in a row all the time. Like, yeah, there are days where I slip up, you know, where I'm like, man, I should have done that. Like I should have done that. But again, it's holding myself accountable and okay, we won't do that next time. We'll shift gears, like, you know.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well, that I think people do get hard on themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm constantly telling people that I take through the masterminds and coaching and stuff. Give yourself some grace. You won't be perfect.
Yep.
Especially at the beginning. We're not after perfection. We're just after those little incremental habits that slowly build on each other. That's all we're after.
Yeah. And again, I was that person. I was the one always beating myself up, negative self-talk.
Yeah.
But now when I slip up, I'm like, man, you messed up there. Okay. This is what went wrong. This is what you did wrong. This is how you reacted wrong. This is what you could have done better. Next time that comes around, this is what we're doing. And now we're going to do this to make up for what we just did. Like,
yeah. Perfect. And it is a journey.
It is.
It's not a simple change and everything's perfect.
Even though, like, you know, again, all these reels and YouTube videos make it sound so simple. It's not. You just got to be willing to go through the journey.
Yeah, 100%. Mate, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you giving us your time when you don't have time for your friends. That's awesome.
I understand.
And given it, sharing your wisdom and what you've done really is shared your journey and what you've overcome and what you're doing to improve yourself and go where a lot of people want to go, but they're not prepared to do the work or to take the responsibility and accountability for actually getting there. So as we finish, I always finish with a couple of questions. Number one, we talk about the ultimate tomorrow, creating the ultimate tomorrow. So what to you is the ultimate tomorrow?
I guess just having a positive impact on as many people as possible and those around me. I know that's pretty vague and cliche, but like truly, I think if you're someone in healthcare or service industry, physiotherapy, and you truly want to help people, like that's what it's all about, right? And just on a personal level, just becoming the best person I can possibly be, and knowing that I didn't leave any stone unturned, which is why, I put myself through these uncomfortable situations. So that would be the ultimate tomorrow for me, knowing that, I've hit my peak potential, and that in doing so, I've been able to have a positive impact on those around me.
So second part of that question is, how do you create the ultimate tomorrow?
Look within and figure out and try to discover all the areas you can get better in and slowly make those changes. It's like they say, if you want to change the world, it starts with yourself.
Beautiful. Mana, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Now, where can people find you? Because obviously there's going to be a bunch of people going, man, I want to learn more about this guy. I want to follow his journey. Where can they do that?
First, probably on Instagram. The handle there for my personal brand, I guess, is Mana _Shiumatsu. And then my physiotherapy business page is the Ikaika Method. Got my website, theikaikamethod.com.au, and on Facebook as well. Those are the main platforms I'm working from right now.
Perfect. All right. We will definitely put links to all those in the show notes and on YouTube, everywhere we are. We'll put all the links to all that sort of stuff. But again, appreciate you coming in today, sharing your story and what it actually really takes to become one of those people that we look at on YouTube, what goes on behind the scenes to make it all work.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks for having me, Kingsley. That was great.
Create the life you want.
Absolutely.